First, we're going to talk about what tools you're going to use and how to decide what you want to be using for each project. For flat Intarsia, I really prefer straight needles, and all my flat Argyle socks I knit on straight needles. The reason for that is because it's really a lot easier to manage the yarn sources when they're flat. When you're knitting in the round, you've got choices between double-pointed needles or 2 circulars or magic loop. What I prefer is magic loop. I don't use particularly long needles for magic loop. I don't like too much stuff hanging off. This is a 24-inch, which is fine for me. 29 also works well. Pretty much everything I knit with Intarsia in the round, I use a 24 or 29-inch needle. So as you'll see on my project, I have 4 yarn sources. I have one of each for the gray, which is my main color, and then I also have a yarn butterfly for each of my contrast colors. So there's a lot of stuff hanging off the needle. Because these motifs are large, I have a large yarn butterfly. The reason I don't recommend double-pointed needles for knitting in the round is that I use yarn butterflies mostly, and they really get attracted to the ends of the double points. So if you have double points hanging, your yarn butterfly can get caught, and that's annoying. If you want to work with double points, we'll talk about what else you can do to manage your yarn. You can put a lot of yarn in a yarn butterfly. So these are larger yarn butterflies. These are about 30 wraps of my hand, and that will get me through an entire diamond motif. You can make them even larger than that. You can also make them smaller than that, and they do get smaller as you work with them. One advantage of the yarn butterfly, which is different from other tools that you will use for your yarn management, is that they are center pull. So if your yarn butterfly gets messy and you need to unwind it and wind it again, it's really easy to do from your needle because you're going to be pulling from the center. That's a big advantage. Now, the problem with yarn butterflies that a lot of students find is that as they get used up, they get farther from your work, and then they can get tangled. They're not all that easy to bring back up. You have to take the whole thing apart and wind it up again to pull it back. For that reason, and for other reasons, if you want to work with a really large amount of yarn, you might want to think about a bobbin. So let's talk about some different bobbins.